All right, here we go again for another episode of Straight to the Heart with Eric Earhart. And today we have with us a special guest, Cole Johnson, running for NC Senate District 1. Cole, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do, I'm trying to get all four of the people from your race interviewed across the line. I've tried to be as neutral as possible.
Right.
Give everybody an opportunity because I love our representative form of government. So I've tried to keep whatever my personal feelings are of who my wife and I want to vote for, whatever. Like just really give you guys an opportunity to share your heart, who you are, and why you're doing this. So if you don't mind, take a minute and let's go back to where you grew up, who you are, a little bit of your upbringing, and then we'll jump into your campaign and we'll talk about the things that are dear to your heart.
Sure. So my dad was actually in the Navy, and so we bounced around from place to place. I was born in Washington State. I know nothing about Washington State. We moved from there when I was 2 years old. And so that was kind of my childhood, was just bouncing around. I mean, everywhere he got stationed, we were moving from coast to coast. So we went from Washington State, and then we were stationed in Maine. And then from Maine, we went to Southern California. And then from Southern California, we went to Virginia. And so it was just bouncing coast to coast. I went to high school in Chesapeake. That's where I met my wife. After high school, I joined the Marine Corps. My first duty station was in Cherry Point. That's where I really kind of fell in love with North Carolina.
Coastal North Carolina.
That's
Eastern
right.
North Carolina.
That's right. Yeah. And so, that's where I fell in love just in general. That's where I married my wife. That's where we had our first child. Really developed a love for coastal North Carolina. I got stationed in Okinawa, Japan once I re-enlisted. Did a couple of years over there, about 2.5 years. I was on three-year orders. I ended up getting hurt over there, and so I had to go through the whole medical separation process. Sent me back to Camp Lejeune this time. Not too far from Cherry Point.
Sure, yeah.
That was kind of an exciting time, also like a nerve-wracking time, just because, with the Marine Corps, I loved it so much. If I could have signed a 20-year contract and retired, I would have done it. The Lord had other plans, and so sometimes you got to walk by faith. This was also during the height of COVID. Well, I won't say the height. This was the beginning of COVID. I actually got lucky. We landed back in the United States the day before Thanksgiving 2019. I have buddies that were over in Okinawa. They were supposed to be coming, getting stationed back in the United States just a couple weeks after me. All the airports shut down, the country shut down, so they were stuck overseas, and I had just barely made it over here.
Wow.
So I was exiting the Marine Corps during COVID.
Wow. Now, the Okinawa tour, that was 3 years?
They're three, because I was accompanied.
I was about to say, so you were able to take your family then?
Yes.
Okay.
So, they switch it all the time. If you're unaccompanied, you're there for 1 or 2 years. I think when I was leaving, they just switched it to everybody's there for 3 years. And so single Marines would be there for 3 years, but I was lucky enough that I was able to bring my son, my wife, my dog. At that time, my son was the only one that we had. My oldest daughter, was actually born in Okinawa.
Oh, nice.
It's cool. She's got the Japanese birth certificate.
I was about to say, yeah.
It's funny because anytime we ask the kids where they want to go to eat, a bunch of them will say Texas Roadhouse, or they want to go into Chesapeake and go to Bubba's or something. They want pizza. My daughter, the one that was born in Okinawa, she always wants sushi.
Now, I've seen some older ones of service members, children born in mainland Japan, and it would actually say the prefecture that they were born in. So I wonder what it would be neat to see what her birth certificate has on there.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it. It's got the Japanese writing on there, but she was born on Camp Foster, an American base.
Right.
So
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, very cool. So, you what was your MOS? What did you do in the Marine Corps?
I was 7051. I just say crash fire rescue because it's had a bunch of different names, but essentially just to simplify it, I was a Marine Corps firefighter.
Okay. And you said Cherry Point, so you're mostly probably doing that with aircraft?
Yes, yeah, it's all the Marine Corps. Their firefighting is mostly aircraft. We never really dealt with structural fire. We've got base fire for that, the
Right.
civilians, which was kind of a cool thing, especially in Japan, because we got to work with Japanese firefighters. You know, they took care of
Really?
the structural stuff. We took care of the aircraft stuff.
Yeah. Very cool.
It was cool.
Yeah. So, man, did you guys ever have any aircraft that lit up on you on the flight line?
So we had a few things. I mean, we would have hard landings, hot breaks, APU fires, things like that. We had a couple aircraft crashes that would happen, but luckily those don't happen very often.
Yeah.
One of the unique ones that we had a fuel tanker, a truck. This was when we were doing like field ops and stuff. I was out in Yuma, Arizona. We had a fuel tanker cross a railroad track without looking, and it got hit by a train.
Get out of here.
So it was 4,500 gallons of jet fuel on fire, and it was just us. We had 1,000 gallons of water, 130 gallons of foam.
Yeah.
We're just-
And ladies and gentlemen, this is why I know it frustrates me too. This is why any vehicle with flammable liquids are required by North Carolina state law to stop at the railroad tracks.
Right.
And they'll stop right in the middle of a highway. They have to before they cross. That's why.
Yeah,
That's why.
exactly. We were in a convoy, and it was the second vehicle to cross through. And anybody that knows anything about military convoys, you never break or split the convoy. So that first vehicle should have looked both ways and seen that there was a train coming and not split the convoy.
Right.
But they're lucky that one didn't get hit, because that was just a Humvee. It was the fuel tanker that got hit, and it got hit in the trailer, and they've got the shear pins. And
Right.
so, I mean, thank God nobody was seriously hurt.
Wow. Yeah. So that was probably the highlight of excitement for your Marine Corps time, huh?
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. I mean, we were just riding in the back of the convoy, and our driver said, "Wow, I think that train just exploded." And we were like, "There's no way." And we look out the window, and there's just a huge plume of smoke, and there's fire everywhere.
Wow.
And we were like, "Oh my gosh!"
Okay, I
the
guess
train
it did
exploded.
explode. Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
it was interesting for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned your son and daughter. How many kids do you guys have?
I have 4 kids. Baby number 5 is on the way. Due.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Due in April. My oldest is my only boy. I've got 3 daughters, and the 5th on the way is another girl.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay. Yeah.
I've got my hands full for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that big brother is going to have a lot of sisters to stick up for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He does a great job, though.
Awesome. Good. Okay. So, so you end up getting medically separated from the Marine Corps.
Yep.
And you were in Camp Lejeune at that time?
Right. Just to go through the whole medical separation process.
Yeah, that was med boarding there.
Exactly.
So, what was your journey from there out of the Corps?
So, I mean, it goes back even farther. So when we were in Okinawa, I had never really been out of the country before. When we moved from Washington to Maine, we dipped into Canada real quick.
Yeah.
But again, I was 2 years old. I don't remember it. And
Right.
I've been to the Bahamas on like the Disney cruise line.
Yeah.
But other than that, I had never really been out of the country. And so, and again, like I was never raised on a farm or anything like that. And so when I was in Okinawa, the food there is it's different. And it kind of opened my eyes to the American food system. I went out in town, and all of their produce was so fresh. I would get a carton of eggs.
Yeah.
And
Like open air markets type
correct.
fresh?
Yeah, correct. And
Almost
so,
like what you picture some Vietnam movie or something.
Exactly. That's exactly how it is. I
Yeah.
mean, they've got the fish and the seafood just on ice, and you point to what you want. and
Really? Okay.
It's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
But I got a carton of eggs there, and I took it home, and I cracked it open, and the yolk was so dark orange that I thought, that's disgusting. I got some bad eggs. And so
Right.
we went out and got more eggs, and it was the same thing. And so we started thinking about it, like, what is wrong with these eggs? Well, it's
the other ones
it's
that
the
are
American
wrong.
eggs
That's right,
that have
yeah.
been
Yeah.
messed with so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And so that kind of got us to think about our diet and things like that. And so when I got separated, or when I knew that I was going to be exiting the Marine Corps, my wife and I, we just thought, we want to be self-sufficient. We kind of want to grow what we eat what we grow.
Sure.
Just kind of know where your food comes from. And then obviously being in military service, I was gone a lot, and so we wanted something where I could be with my family as much as I possibly could. And so we fell in love with the idea of homesteading.
I'm going to say y'all are part of this homesteading movement, probably.
Exactly.
That, yeah, we've seen since the early 2010s really had taken off.
Absolutely.
My wife and I know some people that were doing it back in '05, and like it was then you're just percolating,
Right.
But then it took off,
Right.
as a movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really taken off even more now because the whole MAHA movement is at a federal level. I mean, people are really starting to open their eyes to the food system.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's kind of what got us to the farm. Was we knew that we wanted all these things, and so we wanted to be in North Carolina, decided that we wanted to start homesteading, so we needed to find a place to start a farm.
Yeah.
And so we landed in Camden and just started living out our dream.
Yeah, very cool. So, because it's very interesting, and I don't know how many people, in a general spectrum, follow these kind of things, but I had a pastor friend of mine that left Gates County here, moved to Florida, and he got down there, and they were not homesteaders at all, but they were very much into organic and fresh, and and so they got down there and wanted to capture and filter rainwater.
Right.
And Florida had laws against capturing your rainwater.
Isn't that wild?
You're what? I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we can't. We're not allowed to. I said, you're not allowed
That's
to?
just part of the government overreach that I can't stand. I mean, it's
right.
Who are you to tell me that
It's
I can't
insane,
capture rainwater to feed
Yeah.
my animals, or even, there's laws against capturing solar energy.
Right.
You can't harvest your own energy.
Exactly. You have to feed it back to the grid.
Right,
It's
exactly.
like, well, what? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, that's so. I think a lot of us, and I'll include myself, until I began to meet people that homestead, until I met my wife's uncle, who was part of the solar movement back in the '80s, because he worked for Kodak.
Okay.
In the '80s, and so he had solar panels in his house by '99, 2000. He was already running solar panels with battery packs, and he was early in it. And I began to learn from him that he said, "Yeah, I have to sell the electricity back to the power company." I said, "So you're not really powering your house?" He said, "No." I was like, "Then what?" And then I began to ask this question: well, if this really works and it's really efficient, why isn't every home? Why aren't our roofs solar panels?
Right.
And then we're self-sufficient.
Right.
Why are we not? So that with EMP attacks be a real thing, electromagnetic pulse attacks on grids, with all that being real, why aren't we creating systems that are more self-sufficient instead of more centralized and tied together?
Yeah, I think about that too, especially with all the solar farms that you see.
Yes.
There's farmland that is being lost. And you can't blame the farmers when they sell to the solar companies.
That's
because farming it's not really profitable now. It's so difficult.
Yes.
But I've thought, why don't these big corporations or big companies, or like the Walmart, the ones that have big buildings, put those, instead of having solar farms, why don't we have solar panels up on buildings?
Right.
It's got direct access to the sun.
Exactly.
It's not going to be taking up farmland.
That's right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and why isn't every Walmart parking lot like a two-tier parking lot? Why doesn't it have a rain cover for your vehicles and sun cover that is solar panels?
That would be good.
Right? So now we're delving into the realm of common sense, right? And that's one of the things missing that I found from politics is the, common sense solutions. Let me back up a minute. Two things that I think seem to be missing, which is constitutional limitations.
Right. Government
Staying within its lane and what it's constitutionally mandated to being allowed to do, federal and state. Right?
Absolutely.
So there's that. Government abiding by its own limitations. And then number two, the representatives that wind up in government actually pursuing common sense solutions that make life better for their constituents. What's called the Make America Great Again movement, the MAGA movement, really is what I would call a pragmatist movement. It was Donald Trump, who's not an ideologue, he's a pragmatist, he's a businessman, right? So he was simply offering to America all the way back in 2015. He began to offer to America, and in 2016's primaries, he began to offer to all of us what we could all see were common sense solutions, like why aren't we guarding our border?
Right.
Why aren't we protecting our trade and making what neocons call free markets, which are really crony capitalism, right? That certain people in certain industries get favored by the government, right? So it's like, so he began to simply say to all of us these very pragmatic, common sense things that we could all see with our own eyes, right? So when did you find yourself becoming politically active with this kind of thinking of your diet? When did it begin to go from this is good for me and my family, and I become politically aware, politically active? When did you get involved in politics as a young man?
So this really happened just this past May.
Okay.
And so I'll back up a little bit. So when we started homesteading, we raised our own chicken, our own pork. I replaced store-bought beef with venison. I'm an avid deer hunter.
Same.
I love to take my son out, and he got his first deer 2 years ago. He got his first buck last year.
Congratulations.
So yeah, proud dad moment.
Yes.
But also part of just being self-sufficient and just not relying on the government for anything.
Right.
We also wanted dairy cow because we've got the meats. We're growing a garden. We've got vegetables and fruits. Now we need a dairy, and so we got a dairy cow, and that dairy cows are a lot different than beef cows. You interact with dairy cows literally every single day.
Yeah.
You're out there milking them on your birthday.
They're almost like a pet.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, exactly. You learn their mannerisms. You learn their personalities. They're all different. Well, there in Camden, it didn't take long for people to be driving by, and they said, "There's dairy cows out there." And so we would have people stopping by, pulling into the driveway, or reaching out to us and asking if we would offer raw milk. And we never really thought about it. We had.
You were doing it for your family.
Correct.
Yeah.
I didn't even get into it because of the aspect of raw milk. It was more just to be self-sufficient. And so we started learning more about the health benefits that come along with raw milk. My wife and I, our whole family is blessed. We don't have any health issues. But there was a lot of people that were seeking raw milk. And so we started thinking, all right, let's turn this into a business. Let's sell raw milk. Well, you can't in North Carolina. You can't sell raw milk. It's illegal. And so you have to enter into a herd share agreement. And so that's what we did. We started a herd share, and within 2 days, our herd share was full. We couldn't take any more customers or anything like that. And so we thought this is pretty cool. We've got a cool business going.
Yeah, so these people become co-owners of the animals.
Correct.
So that they can partake of the milk coming from the animals.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
They pay us to care for and feed and
in
all
other
that.
words, you're having to work around silly government regulation.
Right, exactly. And so long story short, we started getting all these testimonies of people who were lactose intolerant, can't have any dairy. Well, they thrive on raw milk. The biggest ones that always touch my heart is we have parents that they're begging to be in this herd share because their child has severe eczema. They've gone to every doctor specialist, tried every medication or cream, nothing helps. They drink raw milk and their eczema clears up. Same thing with psoriasis, and so it's a real health food.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
and the butter from it's amazing.
It is.
Oh my goodness.
And so I feel like I've found the fountain of youth. I mean, when I don't know when the Bible talks about the land of milk and honey, I don't think they're talking about pasteurized milk.
No.
And so this is the way that God made it, and God doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I have this almost an obligation to provide this to people.
Yeah.
And I love this business, and everything was going great. But last May, the General Assembly introduced legislation that would ban milk.
Completely, even for herd sharing.
Completely. Our ag commissioner's been after raw milk for a long time.
Troxler.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's been after raw milk for a long time.
Forgive me for not having educated myself on this subject before this interview. So maybe you can take a minute to educate me and our viewers. what is Troxler's and his organization's objections to raw milk? Do you know? Have they laid out any scientific objections to it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a political answer, and then
I almost want to Google it and find out here.
And so the answer that this one he mentioned because there was the threat of bird flu. Well, there was no human cases of bird flu anywhere near the East Coast, and then that's not how bird flu is spread. You can't drink a glass of milk and get bird flu. Bird flu is a respiratory issue, and so it's just it's frustrating because it's a lot of false information. It's a lot of fear mongering, because this is a top guy, the guy who's supposed to be the voice for all agriculture, and he's spreading this information that's just not true. And people are going to take his word for it instead of doing research because he's a trusted official. And so that was kind of my biggest issue. And so that's what really got me into stepping up and trying to get into politics. Is they introduced this legislation on a Friday and they were voting for it that Tuesday. And so that only gave us 4 days to fight for our livelihood, for everything that we had built.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing turnout. I mean, we sent thousands of
I'm reading
emails
about it right now, how they turned out.
Yeah, we came with a force. I mean, it's not just the small farmers that were affected. Like I mentioned, it's parents that have found the one thing that gets their child comfort is potentially going to be taken away. And so we sent thousands of emails, made thousands of phone calls. We showed up in Raleigh in person to make our voices heard. We had some help. Senator Bobby Hanig, he stood with us. Keith Kidwell, he stood with us. We had a few people that were on our side, but for the most part, because it was pushed by so many legislative Republicans and the ag commissioner,
right?
There was people that were just voting in favor of it without even knowing or doing any research on it.
Sure.
I mean,
so just quickly, and this is just some quick Google research here. And it's on it's an answer to North Carolina, to Troxler, to the objections they had to raw milk, but the dangers of it, and the data, their own data. If you go to the studies they linked, show that there was 4 deaths from 2005 to 2025. That could be attributed to consuming raw milk.
right.
In that same time frame, the number of deaths from processed milk are so much larger. They're in percent per thousands.
Right.
Just 4 people nationwide.
Right.
Versus percents per thousands of persons.
Yes. Yeah. And it goes back even. I mean, there's been like 25 deaths in the past like 75 years.
Right.
And so just to say that it's in the name of public health or public
It's
safety,
silly. Right.
It is silly because if that was the case, why wouldn't you go after cigarettes or the vape pens? Or
That's right.
Leafy greens,
That's right.
chicken, eggs, pasteurized milk.
25 people in 75 years, and So when we see things like this, it's usually driven by industry.
Correct.
Companies are lobbying representatives
Absolutely.
to represent them over the general constituency, and this is the give and take of American politics, right?
Right.
Can a politician be bought? Will they represent with common sense the general populace,
Right.
or will they represent special interests that are able to buy them?
Oh, absolutely. And that was the most frustrating thing. Take away the milk part. This was an attack on people's freedoms, their freedom to choose where they source their food from.
Right.
Raw milk's banned in North Carolina, then people would have no choice but to source their food from big grocery stores.
Yes. Or break the law.
Correct.
Right. Be civilly resistant
Right.
to that law.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to drink raw milk from my own cows and it was illegal, I'd be a bootlegger.
Right.
I'd be an outlaw.
You'd
you
be a
know?
bootlegger. Yeah. Come on, kids. We're about to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got the white lightning.
That's right. Literal white lightning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the kind of things that I think, and I'm so grateful for our founding fathers and our form of government, right? So the North Carolina state motto, Esse quam videre, means to be rather than to seem.
Right.
Right? And so that's kind of what we're talking about here is the representatives should be honest about what they're doing rather than seeming to be something, right?
No, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And that was so frustrating because during the hearing, I'm going to get this wrong. I think it was Senator Brent Jackson who was speaking.
Yeah.
You know, he said, I had no idea there was so much herd sharing going on around here. And they ended up taking it out of the Farm Act, the ban out of the Farm Act,
Sure.
which was fantastic for us. And he even mentioned, you know, this is to show that we listen to you.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't even been a year yet, and they're trying to ban it again.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
So you're not going to forget the thousands of phone calls, thousands of emails. You're not going to forget the packed room.
Well, they're just, you've gone home, and so now
Right.
it's like, let's get back to the people that are supporting our campaigns.
Right. And I think
Because they don't see you supporting their campaigns.
Yes.
Right? So you're not, it's interesting, the constituency is who donates. And you're running for office right now, so there's a reality to that. Like, people partner with you because they want your support and you want theirs, right?
Right.
And so there's a dynamic there that is interesting about American politics for sure.
that's my issue, especially with those in Raleigh. I mean, that's what I've seen. I haven't, you know, obviously D.C. is a whole different beast, but, you know, there in Raleigh, we've got politicians that have been there for decades. And I think most politicians probably go to those positions with good intentions.
They're you.
But they get up there for far too long. They get disconnected from the people that they're supposed to represent. They're surrounded by lobbyists and other
For
peers.
sure, yeah.
And they just forget.
Well, it's real pressure. I mean, the reality is humans, you know, as a Christian, I'm a firm believer in it's an exclusive doctrine of Christianity called original sin, right? That the fallen nature of man, all humans are sinful. We're all equally sinful. And everybody knows that. Everybody believes that. We use terms like nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And those are all just ways of expressing this Christian doctrine of original sin, right? That the heart of man is corruptible and corrupted, right?
Right.
So I try to be generous to these people and go, okay, they like you're expressing, and I feel like you gave a generous take on this. They get up there, they probably all run. They're all Cole Johnsons at one point.
Right.
They're running on something that motivated them.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
And they get up there, and then you get into a system. And that system has its own checks and balances, its own peer pressure, its own culture.
Right.
And the reality is the average person is not going to be willing to resist that because your own nature is not going to want to resist that. You don't want the pushback to come from that. You know, we watched Bobby Hancock basically sacrifice his career, this seat you're running for.
That's
he
right.
sacrificed that seat to run for his constituents. That is such a rare commodity.
It is.
In American politics.
It is.
Right? And so I applaud him. Right?
Absolutely.
I applaud him. There's in his race right now, there's a lot of good candidates, and I like that there's good choices, right? But there's no one can take away from that man that he sacrificed what was an easy win for another term.
Right.
He sacrificed it by going against the system and making so many enemies of where he was going to have to serve that he basically had to move on.
Right. And that's where I got connected with Bobby Hancock. Was during the shrimp or the raw milk ban. You know, we reached out to him and said, hey, you know, this is a farmer that lives in your district that is going to be shut down if this passes. And, you know, what I really admired about him is we reached out to him on Facebook. And he put his personal number on Facebook, a very public area. And so I sent him a text and I said, hey, this is Cole Johnson. I'd love to talk to you about this. 30 seconds went by and he was calling my phone,
Right.
had an hour-long conversation, and it wasn't something that he wasn't just a politician telling me what I wanted to
Yeah.
hear and then I never hear from him again. He called me or texted me every single day for the next week, just filling me in on where this was in
Right.
you know, what step it was in the process.
Yeah. Because it was a common sense issue he believed in.
Right.
He's like, all right, I need to fight for this.
He truly cared. I felt like he actually cared.
Yeah.
And so that's the type of legislator that I strive to be. You know, he did things that were right for the people, even if it was against his own party, even if it was unpopular.
Right.
You know, up in the Senate. That's the kind of legislator I want to be.
Sure, exactly. Yeah. You want to represent the people
Absolutely.
of the district.
That's right.
Like that's the that's the issue. Now the reality is, if you were to win, whoever, which one of your opponents or whichever you win, you're going to get up there and you're going to get into a culture and a system. There's going to be pressure. There's going to be, and so I try to be gracious towards other people and give them the benefit of their doubt. The reality is, it would not be easy to be that kind of representative.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many things that like I have that I stand for that are just I'm going to hold the line. Like this is the hill that I'm going to die on. Yeah. And so I think I've got a pretty good moral compass. I've got a lot of through this whole thing, because the raw milk thing was in May. Well, the shrimp trawl ban was in June.
Yep.
And so my wife and I, we knew exactly how these shrimpers were feeling because we were going through it too.
Yes, right.
And so we linked up with the shrimpers and we offered our support. And again, we went to Raleigh and to fight for them.
Yeah.
And so I've made some good connections there, especially with people that were on the right side of this. And so I feel like those are good relationships that I'll be able to have there. And
yeah,
I mean, I've mentioned I've been endorsed by Equal Protections North Carolina, Christian conservative organization that strives to abolish abortion in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they were concerned about is, through this whole vetting process, they've heard a lot of candidates that are willing to support an abortion ban, but nobody wants to introduce it to the floor. Nobody wants to be the primary sponsor.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not looking to have a grand political career. So I will introduce this. I will introduce
Right.
things that I think is right. And if it costs me my political career, that's fine, because I wasn't planning on having a grand political career anyways.
You weren't planning on spending the next 20 years there.
That's right. There's things that I think are the right thing to do, things that people need to stand up for, and I'm willing to do it.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's that was a long answer on how did you get politically motivated. That's good.
Yes.
That's good. Because it's really I think it's an American story. Most of us get involved in the process because we see something that needs to be fixed, or the government's intruding on us, right? Don't tread on me.
Absolutely.
This is the original flag, right?
Right.
So that's our spirit as American. That's an American spirit.
That's right.
To tell the government, don't tread on me, right?
Right.
And so that's what motivated you, the don't tread on me. So let's talk about then your campaign now, and there's more people in the first NC Senate district than farmers. There's more people
Absolutely.
than shrimpers. So let's talk about your philosophy for your campaign, and then how you would see yourself governing.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. So, obviously during this election, the hot topic items are raw milk and shrimping. But there's so many more. There's business owners. There's all sorts of things. And, I guess it was last year, it was an attack on farmers and shrimpers. A couple of years ago, it was attack on small business owners, with the COVID shutdowns. And it's just things that I feel like our legislators need to be reminded that there's actual consequences. There's people.
They answer to us.
There's people that are affected by the legislation that you pass. And so when you're passing legislation that shuts down businesses, it's not just, the 2 weeks to get over the curve like they said.
Yeah.
There's people that lost their entire businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Another big concern of a lot of this district is overdevelopment. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are upset with county commissioners. Yeah. because they're not being heard as well.
Right.
I've spoke to so many people during this race, and see the things that they say online. Nobody is saying we need more neighborhoods, we need more subdivisions, but somehow they keep on popping up. Now, I think the issue is that the county commissioners. I think there's two issues. Mm-hmm. They think we need more revenue, and they think more houses, more people, more taxes, more revenue.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, there's a strain on our infrastructure systems that need to come up. And then, two, I think they're afraid to be sued because they were sued for so long by developers, for the impact fees. And the North Carolina Supreme Court actually ruled in favor of the developers.
Right.
You can't charge these impact fees because nobody ever gave you the authority to.
Right.
Well, the General Assembly, they responded and allowed them the authority, or granted them the authority to charge SDFs, is what they call them now.
Right.
And so I would just want to be a voice for everybody to make sure that everybody's voice is heard.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where I stand, is that I just want to be a voice. I want to make sure that people don't feel the way that I felt when I was fighting for my livelihood.
Right. I
had a handful of people on my side, but for the most part, we were ignored.
Right.
And it's not a good feeling.
No, it's not. Yeah. So where can people connect with you and your campaign? How can they find you?
So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. We've got our website.
So tell us what those are. What's the
So Cole Johnson for NC Senate, Facebook, Instagram. Same thing with the website.
Same thing with that.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's just Cole Johnson.
Cole
NC.
Johnson for NC Senate.
Right. Or I think the website is electcolejohnson.com.
Okay, electcolejohnson.com.
Yep.
Okay, so y'all can find him there. Interact with him. Sounds like he wants to interact with you guys.
Absolutely.
Ask some questions and find out. So where can people find you speaking right now, where they can meet you and interact with you?
Well, so I'm going to all of the county GOP meetings. The calendar is full. I'm different places all over the place.
So is your calendar on your website, or can they find your engagements?
So we post it on Facebook and whatnot.
Okay.
I like to give out my cell phone number so
Yep.
people can. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I think that's the best because people like to prepare a really well given speech.
Yeah.
Well, this is more organic.
Sure.
Conversations are more organic.
Right.
People like to ask questions. And so I like giving my number out there. It's 252-207-9695.
Okay.
And I'm open to anybody texting, calling, sending me a message.
Yeah.
Because again, this all started back in May is when I got involved. It wasn't until November that I decided to run. And so just a couple months ago, I was just a farmer. So I'm still learning some things.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers to everything, but
Yeah. So, were you? So, had you? What was the first election you had ever voted in? Presidential election.
this was 2012. I mean,
2012.
that's when I was 18 years old in 2012. I voted. What was that?
Romney.
That was Romney. Yeah, I voted for Romney.
Yeah.
Didn't go my way.
Yeah.
But
So, had you always considered yourself a Republican, or were you
Absolutely.
like libertarian, or?
No, I've always been Republican. I registered as a Republican when I was 18 years old, with my dad being military, and it goes so far back. With military service, so I've always had that patriotism in me. My mom is part of DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Yeah.
She did the legwork and traced our ancestors all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
My wife as well. Yeah.
So, kind of a fun fact, she traced it all the way back to a man named Lyman Hall. During that time, there was 2 Lyman Halls from Georgia. We don't know which one we're related to, so we have a 50-50 shot. One of them, I don't really know much about. The other one signed the Declaration of Independence.
Get out of here.
And so I've got a 50-50 shot.
50-50 shot here. Yeah.
So I like my odds. So our patriotism goes back to the beginning.
That. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, so what does your wife think about this whole political campaign?
She's on board with me. I mean, she's just as passionate about these things as I am. I mean, I couldn't do it without her.
Yeah.
She's been fantastic.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, Cole, thanks so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
I try to end every interview with this question. And then you've kind of already answered it, but I want to end with this point. Everybody's got that thing that's driving them. Like a representative wants to represent their constituents and all. I know it all. We all need to say the right things when we're running. But
Right.
But everybody's got their own passions, right?
Right.
So if you were elected to this seat, what could the constituents of the 1st North Carolina senatorial district, what could they expect to see legislatively coming from you? What would you be passionate about, and what would they expect to see you trying to do when you got there?
Yeah, so it's all just about representing the people here, and so that would be the biggest thing. Is I just want to be a voice for the people, make sure that they don't go through what I went through, and that's what I bring to this race. Is that I'm the candidate that has been through this, that has been targeted by government overreach, so I know what it feels like. I know how to fight it as well. So that's my biggest thing. I believe in small government. I don't want the federal government coming in and dictating what goes on in the states. I don't want the state dictating what goes on in the counties. I believe in the smallest government possible. And so supporting our small local communities is what can be expected from me.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right, guys. Y'all heard it right here on Straight to the Heart with Eric Earhart. Cole Johnson running for NC Senate 1. And if you have not registered, you need to be registered, and you need to get out and vote. Voting is March 3rd is the final.
That's right.
Yeah, it's already in early. We're already in early voting now.
Right.
March 3rd is the primary election. Get out there, get involved. It's your government. It's a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And by the way, if you need prayer, you just would you comment down below? We want to pray for you. Keep your eyes on Jesus, because he's the only eternal hope.
Amen.
God bless you, and we'll see you next time.